Well, here I am with my 2004 Touareg again. The ambient air temperature sensor is again acting erratically. So just to show you where I'm at, I'm underneath the left front fender. And underneath here, there is this harness. This harness goes to the airbag crash sensors in the front, the ambient air temperature sensor, and the hood latch release sensor. So whenever I start seeing erratic behavior for my ambient air temperature, this connection has been full of water. And once again, it's acting erratically. This is probably the fourth time I am disconnecting this. I have not washed the car. There's been a little bit of drizzle and rain, and every time it has rained or stormed, it seems to act up. I don't know where the water's coming from. I don't see a lot of water dripped everywhere. Any moisture you see on the outside of this is dielectric grease right now. I haven't it opened up, so I'm going to do that right now. And we'll see how much water comes out of this. What I've done is I have put a little plastic bag on the end of each half of the harness to see how much water has accumulated. And I don't know if you can see that amount of water that has dripped out of that harness. And then on this harness, you can see how much water has dripped out of there as well. And maybe I haven't continuously been getting water in the harness. Maybe it got in once and has never really fully drained out, because I would disconnect it, dump it, and then reconnect it thinking that took care of it. So I'm going to try this. I've let it sit for a few hours, and that's how much has accumulated, and we'll see what comes next. I took off the fender because I just wanted to see if I could find where that harness that's getting water in the connection routes through, and I thought maybe I could get more visibility, so I took the entire inner fender liner off. Not too hard, just a bunch of little screws, a couple nuts, 10mm nuts, and comes out pretty easily. And then I took off unbolted the front bumper cover. Again, pretty easy. There's just, you take out the grill, which has its own little trick to it. Not too bad. And then there's 5 screws here that take out the rest of the grill. Then 4 screws at the bottom underneath, and 2 or 3 on each fender well, which I already had that fender well liner out, so that took care of that. And then there's just a few over here. 1, 2, and then there's 1 right there. It's hard to see it, but it's right in there. There's some little clips, 1, 2, two, three of those big open squares, and they go into 1, 2, 3 little tabs, and you just kind of push down on the tab, and that'll pop it out from underneath this, and then the front cover will pop out there. Same on this side. So once you do the 1, 2, 3 screws on this side, and same on that side on the fender well, the 5 screws on the grill, the 4 screws underneath, release those little locking tabs underneath the headlights, and it comes right out. And yes, you do have to remove the headlights to be able to do this. So headlights, which is just a knob and a knob, a little safety clip that you push with the screwdriver on each side, and then that comes out. So pretty easy to do that. A bunch of screws for the fender. There's some other instructions on where that's posted and how to do that. But the trickiest part was reaching up inside the, once you take out the fender liner, you can get to these nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is just a guide. That's not really a nut there. That's just a guide to help pull the fender up while you line everything up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little push pin, Phillips push pin screw. Then there was 2 nuts on a bracket right here. 1, 2 underneath that you had to remove, those bolts. And then you had to take off this little piece right here of trim, which has 1 Phillips right here, another Phillips right there that I loosened up, and then that moves out of the way far enough where you can pull the fender out here, pull the fender forward from here a little bit, then it starts getting caught right here. And right here you can see these little tabs, so the fender slides in right into that groove right there up here, and you can see it has these little push pins, or these little tabs, and those go in to those 2 little spots of the fender. Let's see if I light that up a little bit more. You can see where those go in. So it's just friction, but that's the place where you'll get hung up and you're kind of worried that you're going to do something bad. Also, to get to 1 screw for the fender, that was kind of a clamp. Oops, good. Right between these 2 white push pins, I kind of just put my plastic trim panel tool in there, and it just popped. And then as you slide it, they'll just pop, slide it, pop, slide it, pop. They pop down pretty easily. And you'll see this push pin right here. And you see how it has this kind of L shape to it? Or not a push pin, it's a screw with a clamping device. You have to line this up to a tab on the fender, and then when you screw it down, that will clamp down onto the fender. So a bunch of little things, but overall not bad at all. Just take that off. What I was hoping is that I would get a lot more visibility to where this wire harness that's giving me these problems goes, so I can follow it back to home. Not to the headlight, it goes underneath the headlights. See this wire? You can see it moving in there when I yank on it. You see it also pulls on this front airbag crash sensor right there. That yellow box right there is the airbag crash sensor. If I keep pulling it, it goes right there. Harness comes over here, comes in through here. There's that wire. Harness. Oop, let me just tilt this up a little differently. Wire, wire, wire. Wire, wire, wire. This goes to the ambient air temperature sensor and to the hood latch release sensor. So that explains why I was getting radical temperature readings, sporadic, crazy readings from the ambient air temperature sensor because this harness is full. Okay, I have followed the harness here that has been full of water. Here's the other end of the connector right here. Drained them of a lot of water. Followed that cable up, so this part goes to the front behind the bumper cover and goes to the sensor for the ambient air, for the hood latch, and for the ABS airbag crash sensors. So this half goes to the fuse relay panel inside the engine compartment. I followed it up, comes up here. Is this wire right here that I'm pointing to? Goes up through here. Goes, let's see, you can see where it goes in right there. Pops out on this side. It's that of the two cable, it's the darker one. Appears to run down. And then come up, and it goes in right there. And then a lot of those wires seem to go into this green connector down here. Some also appear to go over to that red junction box there. I looked inside the box and I don't see any evidence of water inside the relay box. Nothing looks wet, nothing looks rusty, it looks perfectly dry, no dust, no nothing. So I'm gonna say that the water probably got into that harness from a high pressure car wash event. It stayed in that wire for a long period of time. Every time I would open up the harness and water would drip out, I put it right back together, but there was still water somehow in the wires. And I'm just gonna try to put it all back together now because I can't find a leak source or a leak path anywhere. I collected water from both ends of the connector, and I'll just show how much water I ended up getting. I got that much water, I don't know if you can see, make it out, from one of the connectors, and that much water from the other connector. Since water kept draining out of both connectors and not out of just one connector, I'm assuming it didn't travel in from one side only. It just got in directly through that connector. So I'm hoping that it was just a one-time thing. The connector was full of water. It flowed up a little bit into the wires, but stayed inside the connector, and I never let it drain properly because I was just disconnecting it, dumping water, and reconnecting it, and there was still water dripping out. I don't see any more water coming out of those connectors. I could let it sit, I guess, for another day. But most of the wet that you see there is as a result of dielectric grease. So it looks wet, but, and it, you know, there is water coming out of it, still dripping. Maybe I do need to let it drip dry another day or two. Wow, a lot of water. Drip dried for overnight. Wow, still a lot of water coming out of it. Now I'm gonna let it drip for another day. My water remediation plan for this harness, I think I'm gonna drill a little hole in the bottom of it. It sits like this, and maybe give the water a path to escape. Don't know if that will help, but I can't keep the water out. The seals look good. I don't know how water is getting in. I think it just got in one time and I never really let it drain out. But if I put a hole in the bottom of it, hopefully water can drip out. I'll put like a little string or something as well so it has a leak path to drain out, kind of a gutter effect. But otherwise, I just think I'm going to keep getting water in there. So instead of trying to prevent water entry I'm gonna try to manage the water and manage it out of the harness. Bottom of this side of the harness, I put it just off center so it could go in between the prongs. I just put a simple overhand knot in it, and I left enough excess so I could split the threads and tuck it underneath. Hopefully maybe gather water and just it will drip and go down the piece of string here a little bit. I'm going to cut it off a little bit. I won't leave it that long, just enough to let it hopefully grab water, and it'll drain down hopefully and dry up. We'll see how it goes.